Ashley Mazuri, KTN News.
Now, Apple unveiled its latest app HomePod speaker to compete with Amazon.com Inc.'s Alexa Assistant and Echo devices for users who prefer voice-operated systems for shopping, planning and other tasks. Now, the hardware debut came as analysts and investors watch for signs of world's largest publicly traded company's next blockbuster product a decade after the introduction of the iPhone. Apple's voice-controlled Siri assistant will be integrated into the $349 speaker and will make music recommendations that pair with the company's Apple Music service, send text messages, check news and sports scores, and control home gadgets like light bulbs and thermostats. Apple also offered some hints about new capabilities in the next iPhone, including so-called augmented reality, in which digital information is overlaid on real-world images.
Das Einzige, was man eigentlich sieht.
Hey, good to see you. Yeah. This is a speaker first. It's about delivering an awesome experience with music. And then it so happens it has Siri built into it. And so if you think about Siri in two ways, one is that the Siri in the HomePod can do everything that Siri can do in my iPhone and everything else around me. But she's also turning, she's a she for me, or it if you prefer, into a musicologist. So she's going to be doing something very specific for consumers when in the HomePod.
All right, and before we take a short break here on Worldview, remember we're asking you on our tweetable question whether you believe presidential results from polling stations should be final. Do you believe presidential results from the polling stations should be final? Tweet us at KTN News, at Akisa Wandera as you participate in that poll. I'll be taking out a number of your views that I'm seeing many coming in. We'll be taking a look at that just before the end of the program. But for now, let's take a short break. Don't go too far.
We'll take you to Myanmar, where bird's nest is coming home to roost.
This is KTN News. Investment tips brought to you by Sanlam. Providing education for your children can be expensive, yet you want the best there is for them. Starting to save early will help your children have a high-quality learning experience. It's an investment worth the sweat. Get an education insurance cover.
Get proper insurance cover today.
I want to urge our members that even as much as we are out, you should reconsider your position, go back on duty, so that you should not be victimized by the various governments that you work within. I know I will be vilified because most of the membership actually have been brainwashed to think that it is only one person who knows the laws in this country. I want to say some of us are also up to the task. We know exactly what we mean for you. We cannot mislead you to go to unprotected strike. As we stand now, the strike that is ongoing, I can say without no uncertain terms that it is unprotected.
Mzazi wa kiume kuongea tu kwake hata bila kuchapa ama nini, kuna ile authority, na asipoonekana katika nyumba yake mara kwa mara, ajue kuna watoto sasa hapo wanakuwa wapotovu wa nidhamu na atakuja kumsumbua mwalimu wa shule.
Kwa kila swali ambalo unaanguka mtihani, inaweza kakuwa ni binadamu amepoteza maisha yake. Kwa hivyo usifurahi kuona umepata 80% mtihani. That 20% that you lost could be someone dying in your hands in a hospital.
Elimu ni bahari, kila siku twasoma kitu. Nchini Kenya mfumo wa elimu unabadilishwa. Katika kipindi cha Dawalo Elimu kila Jumamosi katika KTN News, tunakuletea mambo mengi, mada mahususi, jopo ambalo linakuchambulia kila kitu ambacho unakitaka kujua katika mfumo wa elimu nchini Kenya, kuanzia viwango vyote katika chekechea hadi viwango vya juu. Nami Franco Tieno kila Jumamosi.
For the first time ever, Kenyan football meets Tanzanian football. It's the Maiden Super Cup for 5th to 11th June at Uhuru Stadium in Dar es Salaam. Watch AFC Leopards, Gor Mahia, Tusker, and Nakuru All-Stars battle it out with Tanzanian counterparts Yanga, Simba, Singida, and Jangombe. It will be exciting. All action will be live on KTN and KTN News. Make a date. Super Cup. Brought to you in association with Sport Pesa.
This is KTN News.
Welcome back. You are watching Worldview. Many thanks for staying with us. All right, let's go back to one of our top stories. The political circus over Kenya's nominations to the Regional Assembly is far from over. Kenya might have to wait until the next parliament to send a representative to the East Africa Legislative Assembly, EALA. This is after the opposition failed to submit additional names and instead resubmitted the same names rejected by the ruling Jubilee Party. Let's now speak to Donald Dare, who is the chairperson of the Pan-African Lawyers Union. He's joining us live via Skype from Geneva. Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. What do you think about how Kenya is handling itself as far as nomination of names or people to the East African Legislative Assembly?
Well, I would say it's a bit regrettable. I took time to look at the new election rules, the standing orders of the Kenyan Parliament under which they pass the hold elections for EALA. And the rules, well, they're not the very best. They're actually pretty good and they're pretty clear. So it is actually regrettable when Kenya, which really for the moment is the anchor economy in the East African community, shows these signs of confusion, shows these signs of not being able to get his house in order in good time. So I'd say it's regrettable.
Kenya letting its local politics interfere with the running of the regional assembly?
Yes, I think so. Well, in Kenya, it seems politics is everything and everything is politicized. If you look, for instance, at the requirements of the East African Community Treaty itself, the Community Treaty requires that the 9 seats that go to each country should as much as possible reflect all shades of opinion and profession in the country. So you'd have expected that each country will nominate people to represent the private sector, to represent civil society, to represent the political class, and to even represent special interest groups, including persons with disabilities and so on. But what we have seen literally all the parties do is to make this a slicing and dicing game where they just divide the seats up according to party strength. And then each party chooses, whom it pleases, and those are the names that it takes. So in the end, it doesn't really augur well because what you have is a political class represented and not anybody else.
So this particular delay by Kenya to send its names to the East African Legislative Assembly, how would it affect the operations of this particular assembly?
If any one of the six contingents, six country delegations are not there, then work at the assembly is frozen. They cannot hold their opening session. They cannot elect speaker. They cannot elect people to the various parliamentary committees. So actually everything will stay frozen until Kenya gets its house in order. And we have been in this situation before. If you remember, for the elections for 2006, for the second EALA, again, what happened then is that the ruling party substituted, in Kenya, substituted the list that came from the other political parties with its own list, which forced the other political parties to go to the East African Legislative Assembly in the famous case of Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o and 9 others versus the Attorney General of Kenya and 7 others. And in the end, the entire thing was frozen until the court had to give a decision. Then Kenya had to amend its standing orders, carry a fresh election. And when the 9 people go to a